Establishing a successful permaculture orchard, it takes time, it takes money, and most of all, it takes... I went through the steep learning curve to save you the time and money. Learning about orcharding, learning about irrigation, about soil biology, animal husbandry, pruning and trading, systems design. These are the lessons that I'm going to share with you, and they are valuable. The first lesson is to know yourself. What do you love to do? Do you love animals? Do you love plants? Maybe vegetables, and you love the vegetable garden and eat the product. Maybe you love trees. Do you love to design something? Maybe you love flowers. Hey, if you love flowers, then focus on that. You can integrate it, but know yourself, please. Another important lesson is to know your site. What climate are you in? Are you in a tropical environment? Are you in a desert environment? Are you in a temperate climate like we are? That's the basic. Then, what's your soil like? Are you on heavy clay that will hold water and you can easily make ponds? Or are you like us on a very, very sandy site? That's all important. We like to say miracle farms, just add water and things grow. When you know your site, look around, find what grows naturally all by itself like a weed on your site. For us, it's grapes and cherries. They grow like weeds. That's what you want. You want an orchard of weeds. You say, I don't want weeds. Yes, you do want. You want them to grow like a weed. What do you do for a weed? You don't fertilize, you don't plant it, you don't even seed it. They come up on their own. So if you figure out what are the plants that grow like weeds on your site, you are well on your way to the most easy planting you can get. It may not be what you want to grow, but it's certainly going to be what is going to grow the easiest. You know your site. You're getting to know it. No site is perfect. If your site gives you ice cubes like we've had, then stop, gather them up, and make some iced tea. Work with your site. Don't let it beat you down. Another valuable lesson is to know your enemies. Whatever crop you're growing, you will have challenges. It could be insects, it could be disease. This was a 4,000 tree monoculture organic apple orchard. We learned a lot about insects because we had a lot of them. Now in the permaculture orchard, we still have a few. There's 3 insects that still affect, and we trap for 2 of them, whether it's codling moth or apple maggot fly. We use traps. So that's a possible strategy. But for your enemies, you need to know what's their life cycle. When do they come out that they can affect your crop? Where do they overwinter? What are vulnerable periods that you can catch them or reduce their numbers? What are allies? Birds and insects that will decrease their numbers. I like to tell people, just do it. Just start. Never will the situation be perfect and everything aligns for you to start your permaculture orchard. Maybe you don't have enough money. Great, that's a good problem. Why? Because you have to be creative, you have to learn a few skills, and the best place to apply it to save a lot of money is by starting your own nursery. We had 1,000 trees in here this spring, and we pulled them out and we put in some vegetables. Great, but start your nursery. This isn't a large space. In 70 by 30 feet, you could grow 1,000 trees. That's how we originally started. If you want to learn more how to propagate, check out our propagation course at permaculture.study. Start for free today. Don't remove your existing trees. Overgraft them. Maybe you have the misfortune of starting with a tree that's there and it's really full of disease, or it's not a good fruit that you want to eat. You don't have to tear it out like I did. You can cut it at a certain point and overgraft it, or top work it as it's often called. Within 3 years of overgrafting, you will have fruit starting. Starting your orchard in a place where you already had some trees and overgrafting is one option, but the best is to start in a blank slate. Start where you have nothing. Start in an open area. Much better than starting over. But the best way to start is to just start today, period. In the early years when this was a organic monoculture apple orchard, members would come pick, because it was a membership you pick, and they would gather their bushel of apples, and then they would come and say, "What more do you have?" I'd say, "I have a couple of more kinds of apples." No, what more diversity other than apples that you have? And I realized I had a huge hole, and whether for you in the backyard, you would see that same hole. Well, I got some apples, but what more do you have? You want diversity. And that led us to redesign and looking at the system design for the whole orchard. There's a couple of important concepts for the system design of the permaculture orchard. The first one I call trios. What's trio? Three trees as the pattern of the planting. You never look at it as I plant one tree and another tree. As I had in the organic apple orchard, it was all the same tree, many hundreds. That doesn't work. I've been there, I've done that. Please do not plant as a monoculture. But in the pattern of trios, you can have, in this case, a plum tree, and then a pear tree, and then a nitrogen-fixing tree, in this case, a honey locust, but there's many species you could use as nitrogen-fixing or support species. Use trios. That's your tree pattern. It solves 60 to 80% of all the problems is by that very design pattern that's repeated. You don't have to repeat the same cultivar. You could change it. In the case of pear trees here, we have 4 different cultivars in this row. What do? We put the first trio has 1 pear tree cultivar, cultivar 2, 3, 4 in successive trios, and then we start again. The 5th trio would have cultivar 1 and so on. So right in that design, even though it's pears, they vary. They can be different, and that variation is so important. But it's not just, there's more. Wait. We have the horizontal, that's what I call these, the horizontal trio. But then there is a vertical trio, which is with a tree, you have something more. So we aim to put 2 shrubs, fruiting shrubs, underneath each tree, and then combine that with a whole range, at least 10 perennials per tree. That could be flowers, it could be perennial vegetables, it could be herbs. You could put annual vegetables, and please do in the first years, not once the orchard is established. At least in our climate, vegetables need full sun. They don't do well here. But maybe if you're in a just starting or in a really hot and dry climate, you can try putting vegetables under your fruit trees. The second important, vital concept in the system design of the permaculture orchard is what I call the grocery store concept. You're familiar with the grocery store. You walk down an aisle and you have 2 rows where you'll pick 1 of these and 2 of those, or a couple of pounds of those. The same idea applies to the permaculture orchard. That's why I call it grocery store. It's logical. And it comes from when this was a monoculture organic apple orchard. We would harvest several rows in a same 10-day window. So a certain cultivar, let's say Spartan, was harvested the last 10 days of September. That was logical. I like that. You go in, you get it all, and you're done. Then when we integrated all this variety, trios and many species in a same orchard block, how does this make sense? I simply grouped all the trees that I wanted to plant by their harvest window. So we use 10-day windows, 3 10-day windows for every month. The first 10 days, the middle 10 days, the last 10 days. This one is the bottom, so it's the last 10 days of August. So I know that this row and the next row are harvested at the end of August. If you don't have enough trees to put in a whole row, no problem. Make a row or a couple of rows to have sections. So the first 2 trios, for example, would be harvested early August. Then your next, maybe one trio, is the middle of August. And then maybe you don't have anything at the end of August, no problem. The next window of harvest could be early September, and so on and so on. So you just need to know, and that's the vital piece, you need to know when it's harvested. And if you look through a catalog and look by that cultivar of fruit you're looking for, it will usually give you when is the main harvest date. Find that, group them together by the same harvest date, and next thing you know, when you plant it, you've got a grocery store. But wait, there's more, as the commercial says. You have your tree harvest windows. That's the basis of it. But there's more than one harvest period in a row. You have your tree, which is the main one. But then you did have fruiting shrubs that are placed under. So that gives you another period of harvesting in the same year. And you can combine it with your perennials. In this case, it's an edible flower, a daylily, that is harvested even earlier. So we aim to get 3 harvest windows for every row every year. How do you start? Where do you start? Well, you know your site hopefully by now. You know your soil. You know what you may be lacking. Perhaps it's compost that you need to add. We even added coffee grounds that we got from our local coffee shops, and we spread coffee over everything as an amendment before we replanted. When you plant, what you want is some way of protecting the trees. We use a lot of this golden stuff, as much as we can get our hands on. It's wood chips from pruning crews. Use this as mulch. It will allow your young plants a couple of years of break before the grass can invade, and it will add some vital organic matter. There's 4 phases to establishing or planting your permaculture orchard. The first one is to put your trees in, which is the backbone, which is the structure of your orchard. Put them in, plant them, mulch them, absolutely. Then the second phase is add shrubs. I like to put a shrub on each side of a tree, 3 feet or a meter away on one side and another one on the other side in the row is a good strategy. A third stage would be to add your perennials. So for each tree, I aim to put in 10 perennial plants. 5 on each side is a good rule. But that could be perennial vegetables, vines, herbs. It could even be annual vegetables. In your first 3 years, you could grow a lot of vegetables around your plant. The goal is to surround your tree with plants that will produce something, because otherwise there will be plants that will come in no matter what. A fourth phase is to establish your structures for your allies. This is your bird nest boxes, for example, and have a range of hole sizes and have a lot. I would say minimum, even for a small yard, put in 10 nest boxes. I don't have room for 10. Yes, there'll only be 5 pair at most using it, because every bird uses 2 nest boxes. So get a variety, put it in. You can put in all those 4 phases at once. You don't have to phase it like I did over years. Put it all in at once. And I would now even recommend do a smaller area that you can finish all 4 phases. You got your trees planted. Hopefully you've mulched them well. Congratulations. One of the most important things to starting your trees off right is to learn training. Maybe you've heard of Solomon and his great wisdom. Solomon had a proverb that says, train up a child in the way he should go, that even when he's old, he'll not depart from it. The same wisdom applies to a tree. Train up a tree's branches while they're young, and even when those branches are old, they won't depart from it. Training will save you a lot of time in pruning. Learn the difference, training versus pruning. Want to learn more about pruning or training? Check out the pruning course at permaculture.study. Start today for free. You may have new trees, and then you get a lot of sun. Take advantage of the open area around your trees. At least for the first 3 years, you can grow a range of annual and even perennial vegetables. Because if you're not growing something under there, under your trees, while there's sun, there's other plants that will try to take that same space. So you choose what you're going to grow around your trees. Maintenance can make or break your project. You've done a great job using trios, using the grocery store concept, planting trees, planting shrubs, planting perennials. How you maintain it can make or break your project. I worked as a landscape architect with over 100 clients, and I've seen that what will kill a good design in a project is improper maintenance. And the most important part of maintenance is your edge. I maintain over 10 miles of edge in the permaculture orchard. I consider an edge anytime you go from one use space, in this case grass, to another use space, in this case our plantings of trees, shrubs, and perennials. Where those two areas meet can cause a lot of annoyance or frustration. So make sure you have an edge that is really low maintenance. Pareto principle applies. 80% of your surface will only require 20% of your maintenance time, but 20% of your area will take you 80% of your maintenance time. So aim to eliminate that 20% high maintenance area. Just get rid of it and have a low maintenance planting, because the only ones who make money with maintenance are the ones who are hired out to maintain. I love Sepp Holzer's take on it, where he says, if you don't want a pig to do the job, then you inherit the job of the pig. Well, do you want to inherit the job of all the caterpillar eating birds or all the pollinating insects? I guarantee you don't. So give them something. Add at least some nest boxes so that you can attract birds, bumblebees, and wasps to nest in your permaculture orchard. They will save you maintenance time. Do you add irrigation? Should you add irrigation? If you're not in a really reliable rainfall area, irrigation is a great insurance policy. You may not have to have it. You probably don't have to have it when your trees are older. But the first 3 years as your trees are getting established, it's just a good insurance to have the ability to put rain. You could use irrigation pipe, you could use drip tape, you could use soaker hose, which I really recommend for a smaller surface. Put it in, automate it, and forget about watering by hand. Stop being a spectator. Get some diligence involved and put in at least 2 trios. That's the start. Get 2. If you have room, put more than 2 trios. And pretty soon you can expand to 100 feet of trios if you have the space. With 100 feet, you will have more than enough for your whole family's fruit needs for the year. And pretty soon you'll have extra. And my goal for you is that you would experience what abundance is like, and that you would have so much more that now you have to share with others. It takes time, it takes money, it takes patience, but most of all, it takes lots and lots of plants. So start a nursery today.